To help his assistant, who hadn't closed a deal in 3 months, secure a client, my fiancé didn't hesitate to sell our shared home. He even bid on a limited edition luxury watch, one of only 10 in the country, at an auction to win over the client for her. The day the deal was successfully signed, his assistant gleefully made a social media post, bragging, "Anyone know what it feels like to have a boss as attentive as a husband?" Everyone instantly assumed I, his fiancé, would be furious. Instead, I casually liked the post, then had someone acquire the other 9 watches and put them on stray dogs, posting it on social media. Anyone know what it feels like when something only fit for a dog collar gets stolen and passed off as a gift? My fiancé immediately called, claiming the client was furious and threatened to blacklist his assistant for insulting them, demanding I explain myself. It seemed 7 years of unconditional love had made him forget that while he was the CEO of the company, I was its largest shareholder and investor. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. When I arrived at the company, I saw my fiancé's newly hired assistant, Luna, apologizing and pleading with the client. "Mr. Arthur, please let me explain, this watch really was bought at an auction." But before Luna could finish, the client kicked her out of the car. Along with her, the watch that my fiancé, Marcus, had bid on at the auction for the client was also thrown out. In the distance, Luna saw me too, and her jaw tightened in anger. I expected her to rush over and confront me, but the next moment, she knelt directly in front of my car, looking pitiful. "Ms. Grace, I'm just a regular employee, trying to earn a living with my own hands. Is that wrong? I beg you, please just let me go." Her being kicked out of the car earlier had already drawn a lot of attention. With that kneel, everyone in the business RK froze, and many pulled out their phones to record the drama. But I looked at Luna's pitiful facade and remained completely unmoved. Just because Marcus fell for her act didn't mean everyone else would. And constantly kneeling to play the victim, trying to sway public opinion and pressure me by portraying herself as disadvantaged, those petty tricks were par for the course in my investment career. With that thought, I smiled calmly. "All right. But you insulted a major client of our company, which not only led to the cancellation of future collaborations but also damaged our company's reputation. I won't pursue compensation. Now, go pack your things and leave." Luna, who had been about to stage a pity play, instantly froze. "You're firing me? You're the one who deliberately made the client misunderstand me, causing me to lose the deal. This is a personal vendetta." But I looked at Luna's indignant expression and couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. No wonder Marcus was so fond of her. Both physically and mentally, she was so young. Or, to be more precise, childish. For people in our circle, money is just a number. What truly matters is one's reputation. It didn't matter how that watch came to be. Luna had utterly humiliated the client within their circle, so she naturally had to pay the price for her ignorance. Regaining my composure, I said calmly, "Is this a personal vendetta, Ms. Luna? According to the company's standard procedures, anyone who hasn't closed a deal in a month should be fired. You've been employed for 3 months and only signed your first deal yesterday. By all accounts, you have no right to remain with the company. I'm merely following regulations." Frankly, the only reason Luna, this incompetent person, was still here was because Marcus had insisted on keeping her. Marcus, who usually paid no attention to personnel changes, had pleaded with me for 3 hours, explaining that Luna was indeed a promising talent, just fresh out of college and still adapting to the work environment. At the time, I didn't think much of it, assuming Marcus was simply giving a leg up to a fellow alumnus. I never imagined that to help her close a deal and keep her job, Marcus would even go as far as selling our carefully furnished shared home, spending a fortune at an auction just to appease a client for her. Now that she had crossed a line, I certainly wouldn't be lenient any longer, but still looked unconvinced. "I don't care. I'm going to Marcus. He's the CEO of the company. If he tells me to leave, then I'll leave. You don't even have a position in the company. What right do you have to dictate to me, just because you're his fiancé?" I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Marcus, I mused. It seemed their relationship was closer than I'd thought, but was truly a young woman. She wanted to take a shortcut but hadn't even done her research. Although was the nominal CEO of the company, I was its largest shareholder, holding 50% of the shares, and the investor who had brought the company back from the brink of financial ruin 7 years ago. Let alone her, a mere assistant, I could even dismiss Marcus himself as CEO. However, I couldn't be bothered to explain to someone like Luna, so I simply called security to clear the area. But the next moment, an urgent shout came from behind me. Stop. Sure enough, it was Marcus. Seeing her beloved Marcus arrive, Luna immediately feigned weakness and collapsed onto the ground. Marcus became even more agitated. Ignoring the onlookers, he rushed forward to help Luna up. Luna, darling, how did you get hurt? Did do this? Hearing this, Luna looked visibly shaken, glancing at me in feigned terror before vehemently shaking her head. No, it's not. I accidentally fell on the way here. It has absolutely nothing to do with Ms. Grace. Please don't argue with Ms. Grace. I was out of my depth and shouldn't have shamelessly stayed here. I'll resign right now. After this whole performance. See, Marcus's gaze turned even more furious as he looked at me. Grace, I just sold a house, and you don't need the money. Did you really have to act so ruthlessly, retaliating against Luna, a mere employee? Besides, she's my assistant. What right do you have to fire her without my permission? Although I had been mentally prepared, seeing openly defending another woman in front of me, I still felt a chill in my heart. 7 years ago, Marcus's parents died suddenly in a car accident, leaving him with a chaotic company. Fresh out of college, Marcus was clueless about business. The company was quickly looted by several treacherous executives, leaving Marcus saddled with a mountain of debt, and the company on the verge of collapse. Because our families had some history, Marcus came to me. At that time, I was already a well-known investor in the industry, but even with a slight connection, I wouldn't invest in a hopeless company and incur a loss for nothing. I simply told my assistant to have him decline to meet, yet waited downstairs at my office building for an entire month, insisting on seeing me regardless of the weather. Moved by his persistence, I not only invested millions but also personally helped him rebuild the company, teaching him years of my experience. He lived up to expectations, transforming from a naive and inexperienced rookie into a renowned CEO in the industry over 7 years. In gratitude, he had long since proposed an engagement to me. Our story was once a legendary tale in the industry, and I had always believed our relationship was unbreakable. But now I realized I had overlooked one thing. People change. My 7 years of selfless love had, paradoxically, made him forget a crucial reality. If I could put him on a pedestal, I could just as easily take everything away. Still, after 7 years of shared history, pouring so much time, energy, and money into it, I didn't mind giving him one last chance to correct his course. I had someone hand Marcus a blank resignation form, then I left the company directly. Having been in the business world for years, Marcus naturally understood my meaning. Tomorrow, I didn't want Luna to be at the company. The next day, I went to the company as usual to oversee project progress, only to find Luna's desk already empty. A slight smile played on my lips. It seemed Marcus still knew his boundaries. In this circle, it wasn't uncommon for married couples to be leading separate lives. Even my parents were no exception. But I didn't want Marcus and me to repeat their parents' mistakes. Now, it seemed, after 7 years, perhaps he'd had a momentary lapse, but I was still his one and only. Snapping back to reality, I casually asked Human, when did Luna resign? But the next moment, the HR representative looked confused. Luna? You mean director, right? She didn't resign. She was promoted to director today, and her office has been moved right next to Mr. Marcus's. My smile instantly froze. My intentions yesterday couldn't have been clearer. Yet not only hadn't fired Luna but had rapidly promoted her from assistant to director. This was clearly his way of defying me and strongly protecting Luna. What's more, Luna's new office had been mine for the first 5 years of the company's existence. Even though I had stepped back in the last 2 years, Marcus had always kept that office empty. It was a testament to our journey together through thick and thin. Marcus knew exactly what that office meant to us. Yet he still let Luna move in. My face darkening, I looked at Human. When was this decision made? Why wasn't I informed beforehand? The HR representative looked exceptionally surprised. Mr. Marcus finalized the decision in an emergency meeting late last night. He said he didn't want us to disturb your rest, so he told us not to inform you. I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Well, I certainly had to thank Marcus for his kindness. In all these years, this was the first time he had acted duplicitously toward me, making moves right under my nose. Every single company decision, no matter how small, he used to consult me on, seeking my opinion. Even after the company grew, he maintained that habit. But this time, he had broken his own rule for Luna. Snapping back, I walked toward Marcus's office, intending to ask him what exactly he was playing at. But from a distance, I could hear many people gathered in front of Luna's office, flattering her. Director, you're truly young and accomplished, promoted to management after only 3 months. Indeed. I heard the office next to Mr. Marcus has been empty for 2 years, but now it's been cleared out for director. Are the two of you? Hearing this, Luna, in the crowd, smiled mysteriously. Marcus and I's relationship. You'll know once you see this. I wasn't particularly concerned, assuming she would at most show off a gift Marcus had given her or intimate chat logs. After all, no matter how far Marcus might cross the line, it would only be a momentary indulgence. He valued the company more than his own life. How could he truly betray me, his investor? But the next second, as I saw what Luna held, my pupils constricted. Pregnancy test results? I can't believe Director is going to be the CEO's wife. That's right, Director, when you rise in prominence, don't forget about us. As I listened to the distant flattery, my expression grew even darker. Marcus and I had long since discussed and agreed on the matter of children. He had said he didn't want children before 30, partly because his career wasn't stable enough, and partly because he wanted to continue enjoying our time together as a couple, not yet ready to be a father. I believed him and always respected his wishes, not rushing into marriage, and always taking precautions. But now, without a word, he had a child with Luna. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door to Marcus's office. Seeing me, Marcus, as if he had expected my arrival, took my hand and began to explain. Grace, I know you're upset. But what happened yesterday caused a huge stir. The videos have spread all over the internet. The company is at a critical juncture for going public. If we fire Luna directly, public opinion will affect the company's IPO evaluation. If we promote her and give her a raise instead, we can actually generate some publicity and boost our company's reputation. Marcus's excuses were still as high-sounding and flawless as ever, but I had no desire to listen anymore. Marcus, it's been 7 years. You should be well aware of my operating principles. I only care about results. Hearing this, Marcus sighed, then pulled a pair of rings from his drawer. Grace, just like 7 years ago, trust me one more time, okay? There's a press conference next week. Haven't you always wanted to announce our wedding? We can use our wedding to generate buzz, sway public opinion, and go public in one go. With your reputation, investors will surely feel confident. Once the company goes public, I promise I'll transfer Luna immediately. Seeing that I didn't immediately agree, Marcus frowned slightly and spoke again. Didn't your family always want to have a grandchild? You're not getting any younger. Just trust me one more time. After the press conference, we'll have a child. With that, Marcus, without allowing me to refuse, pressed the ring box into my hand. Honestly, if Marcus had told me this news even a day earlier, I might have been overjoyed. But now, looking at Marcus's feigned sincerity and thinking of the pregnancy test results in Luna's hand, I only felt a wave of nausea. In the past, Marcus had never proactively brought up marriage or children, yet now he was desperate. He was probably afraid Luna's pregnancy wouldn't stay hidden much longer, and this was his attempt to keep me in check. Without realizing it, the boy who once cried and bared his soul to me had learned to lie without batting an eye. But I didn't expose him directly. After a moment, I nodded without a change in expression. Marcus immediately smiled and kissed me. Thank you, my dear. I knew you were the best. I have a meeting to attend. Make sure you come to next week's press conference. The moment Marcus left, I pulled out a wet wipe and vigorously scrubbed the spot where he had kissed me, my eyes growing colder. Just as I had helped Marcus rise to prominence, now that he had changed his heart, I could naturally strip him of everything. At the press conference, everyone would see if he was a true phoenix or just a common pheasant. Over the next few days, Marcus, believing he had me wrapped around his finger, became even more brazen in paving the way for Luna. He not only gave her the team's best resources but also actively took her to various high society gatherings to help her attract more clients and make a name for herself. Every move mirrored how I had once paved the way and built momentum for him. And every now and then, he would send me wedding dress designs or venue layouts, trying to coax me into increasing my investment in the company. However, now, even if he plucked the stars from the sky for me, I wouldn't feel the slightest stir of emotion for him. Soon, the day of the press conference arrived. Even though it had long been planned that the core of this press conference would be the publicity stunt for Marcus's and my wedding, Marcus still didn't forget to promote Luna in front of countless reporters. The entire press conference was only 3 hours long, yet Marcus spent the first 2 hours talking about nothing but Luna. Anyone unaware would have thought they were the ones announcing their wedding today. Luna, basking in the limelight, even made a social media post to gloat. Anyone else understand what it feels like to have a boss as attentive as a wife? Luna knew I was in the audience but didn't block me. Instead, she deliberately flashed me a triumphant smile. In the past, I might have genuinely felt my authority was being challenged. But now, I simply smiled and liked the post. A clown putting so much effort into a performance on stage, I had to show some respect, didn't I? Marcus naturally witnessed all this and, assuming I was jealous, immediately came to my side to explain. Luna is still young, and she likes to grab attention. We're about to go on stage for our announcement. Don't get upset with a child. Even now, Marcus didn't forget to defend Luna. The difference between loving and not loving truly was immense. I nodded perfunctorily. Marcus, however, smiled faintly and led me onto the center of the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, there's one more important matter for today's press conference. I, Marcus, CEO of Hayes, will be marrying Ms. Grace, the industry prodigy of the investment world, next month. We welcome all of you to honor us with your presence. Before he even finished speaking, the countless reporters and colleagues present erupted in a stir. Although had been involved in numerous rumors over the years, this was the first time he had publicly addressed his romantic life in front of the media. More importantly, the person he was marrying was me. Countless business magnates, eager to curry favor with me, would spend fortunes just to compete for a chance to dine with me. With my endorsement, Hayes would undoubtedly become a highly sought-after asset in the eyes of all investors, attracting eager investments. After all, no investment I was involved in had ever failed. Instantly, countless reporters eagerly questioned, Ms. Grace, is what Mr. Marcus said true? Hearing this, I glanced at Luna, who looked triumphant in the audience, then at Marcus, whose eyes were full of expectation next to me. I then pulled out the ring box Marcus had given me earlier and smiled calmly. It is indeed true. Before I finished speaking, another gasp erupted from the audience. Several investment firms, which had been taking a wait-and-see approach with Hayes, now actively extended offers to Marcus, eager to contribute to Hayes's IPO and get a piece of the pie. Seeing his plan succeed, Marcus, still on stage, couldn't wait to exchange meaningful glances with Luna. Unfortunately, they were celebrating too soon. Hayes's success today was inseparable from my 7 years of financial support and network building. Today, I would make him lose everything, right here in the spotlight. With that thought, I gripped the microphone and spoke again. However, all that is in the past. We've broken up. The next moment, before anyone could react, I threw the wedding ring onto the floor and gave a contemptuous smile. I will also publicly inform the industry that I will sell all my shares in Hayes, and effective immediately, I am withdrawing all my investment from Marcus and his company. Before I even finished, Marcus was dumbfounded. He looked at me in disbelief, then at the wedding ring on the floor. That ring was the result of his entire day of careful selection. But now, it was discarded by me like trash. He frowned and asked in a low voice, Grace, what are you doing? This isn't what we agreed upon, is it? His voice trembled slightly. He was clearly stunned by this sudden turn of events. But, having been in business for many years, quickly regained his composure. He took the microphone from the host beside him and began explaining to the agitated reporters below. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. Grace was just joking with me, trying to liven up the atmosphere. Don't take it seriously, please don't. He even forced a smile at me, signaling with his eyes for me to play along. But I just looked at him coldly. Who's joking with you? Marcus, I am serious. My voice was not loud, but it clearly carried through the microphone in his hand, instantly silencing all the chatter. The next second, the audience erupted. Countless camera flashes fired like mad, shutters clicked, and reporters excitedly pushed Ed forward, terrified of missing this earth-shattering news. They broke up? And she's withdrawing her investment and selling her shares? They've completely severed ties. Hayes was just about to take off, and Grace's move is going to bring it directly to its knees. Seeing the situation spiral out of control, Marcus no longer cared about his image and directly challenged me. Grace, what exactly are you trying to do? Even if you're jealous, there has to be a limit. So I sold our shared home and promoted Luna to director. She's a talent I believe in. What's wrong with giving her a promotion and a raise? Are you really humiliating me in front of so many people over such a trivial matter? Withdrawing your investment and selling your shares. Must you be so petty? But watching his frantic demeanor, I only found it incredibly amusing. Even now, he actually thought I was just throwing a tantrum, being jealous. He simply didn't understand, or rather, refused to understand. The heart that had once beaten for him for 7 years had long since, through his repeated tests and betrayals, turned completely cold, and died. At this point, Luna in the audience also reacted, then rushed onto the stage with a panicked expression, feigning distress. Ms. Grace, don't be impulsive. It's all my fault. I don't deserve Marcus's trust. I shouldn't stay with the company. I'll leave right now. Please don't let me affect your relationship with Marcus, and especially don't let me harm the company's future. Her performance, overflowing with feigned sincerity and that distressed look, was truly Oscar-worthy. Seeing Neil, Marcus grew even more agitated and furious, shouting at me, "Grace, look what you've driven Luna to. Aren't you ashamed, doing this in front of so many people?" He stepped forward to help Luna up, his eyes still glaring at me. "You're constantly suspicious and paranoid about me, about Luna, and now you're doing something like this. Doesn't your science bother you? Don't you feel any guilt?" I laughed, exasperated, as if I'd just heard the biggest joke. The next moment, I pulled a folded piece of paper directly from my bag. "Oh, really? Then I'd like to ask you something. When secretly became pregnant with your child, kept it from me, and then wanted to use my money to raise another woman's secret child. Didn't your conscience bother you then?" In full view of everyone, I unfolded the paper. It was unmistakably a copy of pregnancy test results. The name on it was perfectly clear. Instantly, the entire venue fell into a stunned silence. Luna, utterly speechless, stared wide-eyed at the pregnancy test results in my hand, unable to believe it. "How did you get that?" Her voice trembled, and all color drained from her face. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, giving a cynical sneer. "How did I get it? Marcus may have forgotten to tell you, but I am, after all, the largest shareholder of this company. Naturally, I have my people within the company. When you were showing off those results in your new office, my people took the opportunity to go in and make a copy while you were out making a phone call. After all, I had to be informed of such a big surprise, didn't I?" The reporters went completely wild, and questions flooded in like a tide. "Mr. Marcus, is this true? You really had a child with Director? Ms. Grace, so this is the real reason for your breakup? Director, what exactly is your relationship with Mr. Marcus?" Luna, after all, was just an inexperienced young woman. Her face was ashen, her lips trembling, unable to utter a single word. Marcus, on the other hand, quickly regained his composure and looked at me coldly. "So, you knew all along. You've been putting on an act this whole time, just waiting for today, waiting to deliver this fatal blow at the press conference." He looked at me, his gaze complex, ultimately turning to malice. "Grace, you are so calculating." Hearing this, I almost laughed out loud, infuriated by his twisted logic. He was the one who had an affair first, had a child with someone else, and then tried to deceive me for a lifetime. Now that I'd exposed his scheme and fought back, it was my fault? I was the deeply scheming one? I couldn't be bothered to argue with him about it anymore and merely sneered. "Whether I'm calculating or not is none of your concern. Right now, you should be more worried about Hayes's cash flow issues after I withdraw my investment. Without my investment, without my reputation, tell me, what investor would dare take on your mess? After all, Hayes's success today was inseparable from my 7 years of financial support and network building. Without me, Hayes was nothing." But to my surprise, after hearing my words, Marcus didn't show despair. Instead, a smile tugged at his lips. "Grace, you underestimate me, Marcus. Do you really think I came unprepared?" As he spoke, he turned and took a folder from his assistant. Under countless gazes, he slapped a document onto the press conference table. It was unmistakably a signed financing agreement. "Grace, I wasn't idle this past week. Just when I promoted Luna to director, I happened to close a major deal. The other party was very optimistic about Hayes's potential and Luna's capabilities, deciding to invest on the spot." Marcus lifted his chin, waving the contract in his hand as if it were a flag of victory. "Without you, Grace, Hayes won't just survive. We'll still secure financing and go public." Luna, who had just been limp on the ground, now straightened up triumphantly, tidying her disheveled skirt, her face displaying the arrogance of smug triumph. "Grace, now do you know what it means to have looked down on me? Didn't you look down on me back then? Didn't you think I was just a lowly assistant not even fit to carry your shoes? How about now?" She took a step closer, lowered her voice, and sneered at a volume only we few could hear. "I slept with your man, I'm carrying his child, and I was spending your money. Now I'm spending the new investor's money, and I'm still flourishing. In the end, you still lost to me." Instantly, the reporters in the audience also understood the current situation. Their gazes at me were filled with sympathy and regret. The murmurs were low, yet they clearly reached the stage. But I wasn't just not angry, After carefully examining the contract, I actually laughed out loud. Marcus immediately frowned, looking at me as if I were insane. Grace, what are you laughing at? I merely raised a finger and pointed at the financing agreement in his hand. Marcus, aren't you curious about who truly controls the new investment company that had such a shrewd eye for talent and dared to invest so heavily in you, behind the scenes? Who is actually in control? Marcus froze for a moment, then scoffed dismissively. Investigate? What's there to investigate? They believe in our company's potential and Luna's capabilities. Isn't that enough? Grace, stop playing games and stalling for time. If you don't want to lose face completely, then get out of here. But I just smiled and shook my head. What's wrong? Are you scared? Hearing this, Marcus frowned deeply and looked at me suspiciously. In the end, he couldn't resist that nagging unease and told Luna to quickly look up the background of this investment company. But a few minutes later, Luna stammered. Mr. Marcus, you should really look for yourself. Marcus impatiently snatched the tablet and looked down at it. The next second, his pupils suddenly constricted. No, impossible. How could it be a subsidiary of Vance? Seeing his utterly shocked expression, I was actually a little surprised myself. Previously, because Marcus and I had been together for 7 years without setting a wedding date, my father had always held reservations about Marcus, believing him to be disingenuous and restless. But recently, probably to appease me, Marcus had proactively suggested that he wanted to publicly announce our relationship and expedite our wedding plans. He had even leaked some information to the media beforehand, creating an atmosphere that we were about to announce our wedding. My father, thinking we were finally going to get married, decided to invest in Hayes as a surprise wedding gift for our new family. Because it was a surprise, he hadn't told me in advance. I had only just realized this myself, seeing Marcus pull out the contract, hearing his words, and then seeing the results he had looked up. I had to admit, it was a cruel twist of fate. An investment that should have symbolized blessing and support had, at this very moment, become the final straw that crushed Marcus. One moment he was in heaven, the next he was cast into hell. After a long moment, Marcus finally snapped back to reality. The arrogance on his face was gone. He grabbed my arm, his voice laced with a sob, and began pleading desperately. Grace, please listen to me. I can have the child aborted. I'll go to the hospital right now. I promise everything will be cleaned up. As for Luna, I'll fire her right now. I'll make her leave. Can we start over, please? Grace, we have 7 years of history. How can you just throw it all away? But no matter what Marcus said, I remained unmoved. After a moment, as if something suddenly occurred to him, he frantically pointed at the slightly faded red Lucky Charm tied to my waist, saying excitedly, Grace, do you remember this? We hadn't been together long then. You were trying to secure investments for my company, meeting with setbacks everywhere, and you almost gave up. I was the one who personally ascended a mountain to the old chapel, praying on my knees every step of the way, making countless vows before the altar, to get you this Lucky Charm. You said you would always wear it, always treasure my feelings. Since you're still wearing it, it means you still are about me, right? Marcus looked at me with tear-filled eyes, trying to rekindle the last bit of warmth in my heart. I looked at the Lucky Charm. Yes, it was very familiar. When he first gave it to me, I treasured it. Because I believed it contained his pure and fervent love for me. Unfortunately, people change. 7 years had long since eroded that fervor, leaving behind only calculation and betrayal. His love had long since soured. This token, once symbolizing our love, now seemed nothing short of incredibly ironic. I gently pushed his hand away, then tossed the Lucky Charm directly into the trash can. Thank you for the reminder, Marcus. This trash should have been thrown out a long time ago. Seeing this scene, everyone in the audience understood immediately and began discussing animatedly. My God, so the new investor is Grace's father? Has lost his mind? He's abandoning a fine, well-bred lady like Grace to get involved with that conniving assistant? He thought he was so clever, but it turns out it was a surprise from her father to his future daughter-in-law, and he's showing it off to the rightful owner? Each mocking word pierced Marcus's heart like a knife. Furious with shame, he violently pulled his hand away from me, his eyes once again turning venomous. Grace, don't get ahead of yourself. So what if I don't have your father's investment? I, Marcus, built this company from the ground up. I can survive without anyone. He gritted his teeth, then looked at Luna beside him as if she were his last hope. I still have Luna. She has the ability to help me. We can still develop the company successfully. But no sooner had he finished speaking than Luna plopped down, kneeling before me once more. Ms. Grace, please spare me. This was all Marcus's plan. He forced me to do it. He was sick of you long ago. He saw me as young and obedient, so he deliberately seduced me. He said if I listened to him, the company would be ours someday. I was just confused for a moment. I was deceived by him, she said, slapping herself hard across the face. The baby in my belly. It's not Mr. Marcus's either. I got pregnant when I was with my ex-boyfriend. I just wanted to get some money. I truly didn't mean to ruin your relationship. To save herself, she was rambling, throwing every bit of mud she could at Marcus. Seeing that I still didn't react, the next moment, as if something occurred to her, her eyes lit up, and she said urgently, Ms. Grace, I have more evidence. Marcus also committed tax evasion and created several sets of falsified accounts. The evidence is in the safe in his office. The password is my birthday. Ms. Grace, please be merciful and let me go. I'm just a victim he used. For a moment, everyone was stunned by this sudden turn of events. Marcus was trembling with rage at Luna's words, pointing at Luna, unable to utter a single word for a long time. As I watched this vicious infighting, I finally couldn't help but let out a sneer. Marcus, 7 years, and your judgment of character is still so poor. Hearing this, Marcus froze for a long moment before coming back to his senses, glaring intensely at Luna. Luna, tell me, why? I was so good to you. I liked you so much. I gave you all the best resources. I made you a director. I promised you half of the company in the future. How could you do this to me? How could you? The next moment, he lunged forward, trying to grab her, but pushed him away with disgust, making him stumble and nearly fall. And, seeing his breakdown, showed not a trace of guilt on her face. Instead, she sneered and brushed off her sleeve where Marcus had touched her, as if she'd been defiled by something filthy. Like me? Marcus, why don't you take a good look in the mirror and see what kind of man you are? If it weren't for your money, and you being a stepping stone for me, who would bother with an arrogant old man like you? She took a step closer, Laura. Her voice, a look of exaggerated disgust on her face. Do you know how I felt every time I had to put on a show with you? There was an old man smell I couldn't wash off. Every time you touched me, I felt sick. Like I wanted to throw up. If it weren't for your money, for climbing over you to get ahead, I wouldn't even touch you. You're so disgusting. At this moment, Marcus looked at the woman he had once cherished and given everything to, now revealing such an ugly and vile facade. He couldn't bear it anymore and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Luna, however, didn't even spare Marcus a glance. She quickly turned around and, like a dog begging for scraps, tried to curry favor. Ms. Grace, you see, I've told you everything, and that evidence will definitely put him away. Can I go now? A flicker of hope shone in her eyes, believing her betrayal could buy her freedom. But I looked at her desperate face, eager to escape, and pointed behind her. I'm afraid you'll have to ask the people behind you. Luna turned back in confusion. The next second, the smile on her face froze instantly. At the entrance to the venue, a line of stern-faced police officers in uniform had appeared, unnoticed. Take her away. 2 officers quickly stepped forward, moving efficiently. 1 on each side, they precisely handcuffed Luna. Officers, you've got the wrong person. I'm the victim. I'm the one who reported him. It's him. It's Marcus who committed tax evasion and transferred assets. I was coerced by him. It has nothing to do with me. I watched Luna struggle and sneered. Do you think I let you stand here and throw all that mud at Marcus for no reason? Long before you and Marcus conspired to secretly transfer company assets, falsified accounts, and commit tax evasion, I already had the evidence and reported it to the police. Letting you engage in vicious infighting here was merely to let everyone see your true colors, you 2 conniving individuals. You 2 are ACC accomplices. Neither of you will escape. Hearing this, Marcus, who had been sprawled on the floor, immediately scrambled to my feet and desperately clutched my pant leg. Grace, I was wrong. I truly understand my mistake. Please let me off this one time. For the sake of our 7 years together. For the sake of how much I once loved you. I'll give you the company. Everything from Hayes is yours. I don't want anything. I'll just quietly follow you from now on. I'll take care of the kids at home for you. I'll be your loyal servant. Truly. He cried his heart out, trying to move me with past affection and future promises. But I mercilessly kicked away his hand that was tightly clutching my pant leg. The police didn't delay any longer. They stepped forward and helped the zombie-like Marcus to his feet, putting him in handcuffs. Until she was led to the police car, Luna was still cursing wildly, cursing Marcus for ruining her, cursing me for being ruthless, and cursing fate for its injustice. In the end, Hayes' press conference, hyped for its IPO alongside the wedding, concluded with the arrest of both Hayes' CEO and his assistant. In the blink of an eye, 6 months passed. Marcus and Luna's case had also concluded. It involved multiple charges including embezzlement and tax evasion. Ultimately, Marcus was sentenced to 5 years in prison for multiple offenses. Luna, as an accomplice, was sentenced to 3 years. Word had it that in court, the two continued to accuse each other and shirk responsibility, making a spectacle of themselves and becoming the laughingstock of their circles. As for Marcus's company, after I withdrew my investment, partners terminated their contracts one after another, leading to bankruptcy and liquidation. Furthermore, due to multiple counts of commercial fraud and breach of contract, Marcus personally incurred astronomical debt. Even after the court enforced the seizure of all his executable assets, it was a drop in the bucket. What awaited him was a long and desperate life of debt repayment after 5 years in prison. As for me, life had already turned over a new leaf. After I focused on my career, Vance's footprint continuously expanded, and its profits repeatedly reached new highs. My abilities also received full recognition from my father and the board of directors. Seeing that I had completely moved on from the shadow Marcus had cast, my family arranged a new blind date for me. This time, it was a young professor from an academic family with a reputable family background, whose character was generous and thoughtful, and whose eyes held no complex calculations. We met a few times and felt good about each other. Both sets of parents were pleased with the outcome, and the wedding was quickly finalized. It was set for next month. And this time, I would never allow the same mistake to happen again. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your perspectives, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.